Good day. Today I'm going to show you a little, well, it's not actually little, it's my take on making marmalade. It's the end of the season. I've got buckets and buckets of lemons. So we're going to make some marmalade, but we're going to use one of the techniques for making what South Africans call jellies, or jam. Okay, so what I've done here is I have peeled the zest off of the lemons and put them to one side. I've cut all the lemons in half, including the ones that were too small to peel the zest off. I've put them in a door so big pot, and now I'm going to cover it with water, and I'm going to let it simmer bring it to the boil and let it simmer for about an hour. Okay, so we're going to end up with a whole bunch of juice. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all the fruit and the juice and put it into a muslin bag, and we're going to hang that bag up, and we're going to leave it there for about 24 hours, and what drips out we're actually going to use. Okay, if you don't have as many lemons as I do and you want to go large, then juice the lemons, pour the juice and the pips and the whole lot into the pot, add enough water to cover, boil it, and then what you've got is this juice. You'll get more yield out of it that way, but this you get a better flavor if you do it my way. So what we're doing now is we're measuring the juice. Very important to measure the juice, because this is going to tell you how much sugar to put in later. So we're going to measure the juice, we're going to gooi it in a pot, or for those of you who are not from South Africa and don't know what gooi is, you're going to donner it into a pot, and then we're going to add the zest that we took out earlier back in. Okay, so there's the zest from the fridge. We're going to put this in, we're going to bring it back to the boil. We're then going to reduce it by 1/3. Okay, so we're going to stir it in. Notice the level of the pot here, very important. Okay, this is it coming to the boil now. Now pay very close attention. See how much water is in the pot now? See how much water is in the pot now. We've cooked away about 1/3 of the volume. So for every litre, remember we added 3 litres, we're going to add 600 grams of sugar. If you want to make more jam, you can do up to 1 litre for every kilo of sugar. So I prefer it to be a bit less sweet, so we're using 600 grams. Hence, we're putting 1.8 kilos of sugar into this pot. Now I use a light brown sugar because it gives it a far superior flavour. We're stirring it in just to make sure that the sugar dissolves thoroughly. We're bringing it back to the boil, and we're going to turn it down, and we're going to leave it to simmer. We need to get it to the right temperature. I have a special little thermometer I use for this. Now you can see the bubble pattern has changed, and you've got all this icky foamy stuff on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to skim all the impurities off the top. That's that foamy stuff over there, and we're going to throw it away. Now you want to make sure that you don't get any of the zest and as little of the liquid itself as possible when you skim this. We're going to check that the temperature is at 104 degrees centigrade. Don't ask me what it is Fahrenheit, don't have a clue. I could look it up for you if you desperately want to know. It's 104 degrees centigrade. When it reaches that point, it has reached setting point. There are a few other factors that are involved, but because we had the seeds and the skins of the lemons in this marmalade, it's not an issue. There's going to be plenty of the other chemicals required to make it set. Okay, so we're going to check for setting point by sticking the thermometer in it. When it reaches 104, we're ready. Now this is at 104. I know this because I've seen what comes next. Just a quick pointer on what we're going to do to the jars. We're going to run them through the dishwasher to make sure that they're clean, and then we're going to set the oven to its lowest temperature, about 100 degrees, and we're going to pop the jars in the oven. So what you see there are hot jars. Whatever you do, don't touch the jars with your bare hands at this point. If they're not hot enough, when you pour the hot jam in, they'll crack. Now you see I've got chemical workers gloves on. These are used only in my kitchen. Now what I'm doing is I'm filling the jars to about 2/3. Because the fruity bit, you can see that I'm struggling to get it out there, hence the chemical gloves. You can just scrape it off using your finger. You use the chemical gloves to protect your fingers, and you fill the jars to 2/3 so that you can then use the last little bit of the fruit. You're going to use a spoon to make sure that each of the jars gets enough of the fruit to fill the jar. You don't want to end up in a situation where the one jar has just got the jelly part. You've got to have some fruit in there for the marmalade to be perfect. Okay, so all we're doing is we're spreading the fruit around the jars to make sure that each jar has got lots of fruit and that they are all filled up to the top. Right, this is critical that you do this properly. With these are once-use lids. I use them once and I throw them away. They cost about 20 cents a lid. We're going to clean the top of the jar very, very carefully. One teeny weeny little sugar crystal in there, and either the jar won't seal properly or the sugar crystal will make the rest of the jam crystallized, which it's just a disaster. It doesn't taste funny, it just doesn't look so nice. So, clean the lip of the jar, dry the lid, screw it on firmly. Okay, now I'm going to tell you the secret. The secret is to take these freshly sealed jars and wrap them in a towel until they have cooled completely. It normally takes about 18 hours for them to cool completely. I don't know what it does. Somebody would explain the chemistry of it to me. I'd love it. But it means that the color of your jam and the fruit size of your jam stays much larger. There's the secret.